Hello and welcome to this new episode of this series on my YouTube channel, in which I talk about and I show this building process of the Royal Palace of El Pardo, which is a Spanish one, in this game whose name is Minecraft. What I try to do, or my aim in this series, is to try to rebuild that palace in real life in this game. What you're seeing right now, it's part of the foundations of this palace in this game, which I think is very important in order to start this process in this game. If you're someone who have just catch up my YouTube channel, I will tell you that my name is Andrés Lazo and I usually do buildings in this game, which I record for my YouTube channel. I have in this series, as I have said, I will be recording my building process of this real life palace. And well, in this video, I would like to show you how the foundations, which is the beginning of this building process, is like now. Uh, this palace, I use, by the way, I use building plans, which I have this palace, in order to recreate this palace in this game. The very first thing that I would like to say is that the palace uh, has a basis of rectangle, a rectangle-like form. Here you have to see, here you see how this is like. The palace has in its corners, in its four corners, like it will be something like towers, and that's why the towers and the corners goes. How do you call this? Well, it's quite different. It has this has these features of towers, and the foundation limits goes out of the regular foundation limits. Another thing that I would like to say is that well, in the beginning when I was having this building plan, I made measures, and in according to my numbers, it was 174 Minecraft blocks per 80 Minecraft blocks. But there was a little problem when I was start building and start making this. For example, you can see now that I have making the foundation limits in this part of the basis of these foundations in general. Well, the little problem which I was commenting is that uh, there is a size in this foundation level, which is the general one. For example, I made a general measure of all the foundations itself. But when I was trying to measure each room, inner room, for example, this one, there's going to be a inner yard here, another yard here, another inner yard here. When I was making measures, or yes, when I was making measure of each room, inner room, by or each, I realized that the summary of all that was that's the correct word, summary. Well, the when I make an addition, the sum of that, the summary of the sum. No, I think this is the sum. I'm sorry, English is not my first language. It's Spanish, so from time to time when I make a word mistakes, I am very sorry. But what I'm trying to say is that the result of summarizing, I think, summarizing no, of this addition of joining all the spaces was had it was a different the measure was different than the one I'm sorry was different than the one when I took the measure in general. And I think this little mistake is due to that I do not have specific elements to make correct measures. And besides, yes, because I'm not an architect or something like that, I am just a regular guy who have a building plan, and I use a ruler. Yes, I think that's a great word, a ruler, and I try to make measures by myself with a ruler of this building plan, and then I try to make these measures. Well, it could change a little bit, but in the same proportion. I try to make these measures. I try to put these measures in this building process in this game. But as I was saying, maybe the ruler, I think the ruler is not a precise element to have or to take or to make correct measures, exact measures. So here's in this process of building and designing, or the building and design, this building and design process, in this case in the foundation level, uh, well, as a consequence of that, there is this little problem which I have talking about. Another thing that I think that another thing that let me have this problem is that, for example, well, I was saying about that ruler is not a correct way, it's not a correct element to make correct measures. But also I was well, I wanted to say that, for example, in my experience of trying to build other real life palaces in Minecraft, is that, for example, sometimes the walls, for example, the walls of this for example, this sort of wall, which is next to the yard, one of the inner yards of this palace, has well, it's the length, the length of this wall is not. Uh, for example, it could be, imagine that the length of this wall, according to the measures which I try to do the best I can, is 2.5. But in this game, it is not possible to have 2.5 blocks. It's just 2 blocks or 3 blocks. And in this difference, which is something to consider, uh, could make, as it happens now, could make really big differences in the well, in the general result. In this case, the the exact general measure does not fit with the measures with the measure which I do to each room. I hope I let myself understood. Um, but well, what I'm trying to say at the end of this is that I'm trying to do my best in order to follow the pattern, well, this pattern of the building plan, and try to recreate as much as I can this building in real life, this royal palace of El Pardo. Well, yeah, these things happens. In my previous episode, in the previous series on my YouTube channel, when I tried to build Royal Palace of Madrid, when I tried to build other palaces, being inspired, which were inspired by other real life buildings, there was all I had always this same problem. But with the experience of trying to do this sort of buildings, I see that this it's a constant which repeats in each building due to these elements or these problems. Wait a second, please. Due to these well, difficulties, uh, which are proper limitations, because I am not an architect. This is a game, so there are not ways of trying to build in an exact way, right? Well, and that's what I wanted to say. But these issues does not encourage me, and on the contrary, it makes me be more well. It makes me feel more. Well, this sort of difficulties makes me have more interest in trying to build these sort of buildings in real life in this game, because at the end I think I could get a very nice result in, well, in other building plans, in other buildings which I have tried to recreate in this game. I was very happy to have, oh wait a second, I was very happy to get the buildings as much as possible in looks, or as much as equal in looks to the real life palaces or buildings. Well, and after these words of explanations, I would like to say that, well, I will talk about a little bit about how this building plan is going on right now. I talk about these rooms in this part of the facade, in this part of the palace foundations. Here we have a yard. Then we have another rooms. Actually, there are no rooms now because I have not made these limits yet in the foundation level, because I have just put these walls. The reason why I did this is because I wanted to make the measure in. I wanted to know if the general measure of the foundations in this side, in the length of this side, was equal to the measures when I tried to make them by making them by each room. So, well, I have already said that it was not the same. The sum of them, of these numbers and measures, were not the same. So, well, that's the reason why I did that. But I'm sorry. But what this process what this process left here is sort of distribution, and I want to show you to you all how the inner part of the palace will be. Inner parts of the palace will be. For example, here we have a space where many rooms of the palace will be, as it happens here. Actually, it's the same size in this part. For example, it's 8 blocks long in this size, and it has the same measures, 8 blocks long in this size. Then we have another inner yard. Then we have another space for rooms, the inner yard, and another space here for rooms. For example, you can, if you see, well, I want to share to you all that in these sort of building plans, there's a pattern which repeats. For example, we have a space for rooms, yard, space for rooms, yard, a space for rooms, yard, a space for rooms. Actually, the yard in the middle, it's little, it's more little than the other ones, which are almost in this part, and the other part almost in the corners or in the extreme parts. And here we have, for example, a way. Well, this is the evidence of how this is the evidence of how I realized that what I was talking minutes ago, that the general length was not the same as the measure of the length of the general measure was not the same as the length of the sum of each room's length. There is a difference between these two measures of 3 blocks of Minecraft. So this is the difference of length about this issue that I found out in this building process. Actually, this wall is going to be here, and that means that all the things that are in this side of the foundation level of this palace will move 3 blocks to the left. Well, guys and friends, thank you. And that will be all for this episode. I hope that I let myself understood. And well, little by little, this palace goes on. There are many things to do, many things to explain and to build, of course. And well, I'm very excited and interested in doing this palace, because I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Well, and after having said this, I will say goodbye. But by the way, I will leave in the description of this video the link of the series of this, the link of the playlist of this series. This is a video series on my YouTube channel, and the video series is actually a playlist on my YouTube channel. So I will leave in the description of this video the link of that playlist in order to let you see, or in order to have a link to see all the videos of this series. This series has a version in Spanish language and in English language, and you can check the English language, of course. And if you want, you can check also the Spanish language, but well, I think it doesn't make sense. You can check the English language version itself. Alright, so wait, it's raining. Let me check. Let me. Okay, I made the water clear. Alright, so after having said this, Thank you very much, and I hope to upload another video this series soon. Thank you very much for your interest in this series on my YouTube channel. I hope that you have a good day and goodbye.